Hi and welcome to the channel. Now if you're new to astrophotography and you want to know how to set up a rig from scratch using the ASIAIR out on location, then this is the video for you. I'm going to show you how to set up the rig from scratch using the ASIAIR. I've got the ASIAIR Plus, but it is the same for the ASIAIR Pro. So let's get started. So when you set up the tripod, you need to make sure that the feet are on a solid base. It's so easy to not realise that maybe one of the feet is on a bit of soft ground, and slowly over the night the foot sinks in, which is what happened to me, and I wondered why my guiding was way off. I hadn't realised that the foot was slowly sinking in. So what I do now, I've got the tripod set on these wooden blocks which I put under each foot, and that way it keeps it from sinking into the ground. And the next thing to do is to make sure the little black pin here is pointing to north. So I use the compass on my phone, and that's pretty much north direction. And then I don't like to use the level built into the tripod. I would rather use my own little portable spirit level. I like to put that on and I can check. Let's just get some light on the subject here. I like to make sure this level, which that's pretty good. Just got to drop that leg down a touch. There, and using my own little level, I can put it in any direction I like, and that's nicely leveled. Once you've got the feet on a solid base and you're pointing to north and the tripod's level, next thing to do is to get the mount on. So I'm using the HEQ5, and that should sit on here nicely like this. Right, okay, that's on. And another little tip is, when you do this bolt up under here, don't over tighten it. If you tighten it too much, then when you do your polar lining and you want to adjust these knobs here to move the mount around, sometimes the mount just will not move because you've got this here too tight. So I like to just slacken it off slightly. Obviously it doesn't want to be wobbling around, it's got to be tight enough, but do not over tighten it. Then take this bottom nut off and put the spreader plate on. Right, so let's get the spreader plate on. And again, you don't want to over tighten this. It's always too easy to over tighten things when you don't really need to. Right, so that's tight enough. Right, the next thing to do is to get the weights on. Always put the weights on before you put the telescope on. And I have made that mistake before, so trying to remember to do it in the right order. Right, so weights are on. Now it's time for the telescope. Right, so make sure the saddle here is open enough so that you can easily slide the Losmandy plate up with the rig on, and then do those nuts up fairly tight. Make sure it's in properly, which it is, and get them nice and tight. Right, now before we balance that, we need to get the cables all sorted out and connected. So I'll quickly go through all the leads on here. There's 4 leads plugged in to the ASIAIR, to the USBs. One, this blue one goes, it's a USB 3, goes up to the Pegasus power box, so that can talk to the ASIAIR. You've got one here, USB 2, goes down to the mount, so the ASIAIR can talk to the mount, and that's plugged into the hand controller port on the mount. So you've got another one, the USB 3, which goes down to the camera. It's plugged in the back of the camera here. And then the 4th one is this mini guide camera that's plugged into the ASIAIR. And coming out of the Pegasus power box, that's just a deuce strap, and that underneath there is the USB stick which all the data is saved onto. This side, these are all the power supplies. you've got the power supply, one power lead coming up from the battery up to the Pegasus power box, which then supplies the mount, supplies the ASIAIR, and it supplies the camera. And this lead here from the electronic focuser goes down to the back of the camera. So that's all the leads. You've got a do strap here which is for the main scope, and the other do strap here is being powered from the Pegasus power box. Right, so here I've got the Jackery 500 Explorer battery, and there's just one lead coming down from the rig going to the battery. So this is fully charged and it's switched on, and this will happily last all night long. So let me give you some details about this rig. Firstly, this is the HEQ5 mount. It's a German equatorial mount, and it's a very good mount if you're just starting out. It's not too big and heavy, it's easy to handle and very simple to operate. It's a very good mount. It's been tried and tested, and I've had this mount for a couple of years now and it's never let me down. Right, so sitting on top of the mount is the setup here. In there, that blue box, that's the Pegasus Power Box Advance, and that's a power distribution box, and that distributes power to the do straps and the ASIAIR and the camera. So in there, that's the ASIAIR Plus, that's what's running everything, and down the end here is the ZWO 2600 MC Pro camera. It's a cooled color camera. The guide scope, that's the mini ZWO 30mm f4 with the mini 120 guide camera, and the scope is the ASIAIR FRA 400 5.6 Apo. That's a lovely scope. This is a quintuplet, so it's a principal design, which means you don't need field flattener. It's got a field flattener built in, and from experience I can tell you the stars are excellent. So here is the electronic focuser. It's the EAF by ZWO. It keeps everything nicely sharp in focus. In here is a filter drawer, and this would take 2-inch screw-in filters, a filter of your choice. In there at the moment is the ASIAIR dual narrowband HA-03 filter. Right, so that's the rig, that's the setup. And it's very portable, easy to set up, and it'll work all night long with that Jackery battery, and it will produce some fantastic results. Right, so let's just balance the rig and make sure that's set. That's way too heavy, so we'll move the weights up. That's pretty good. That's nicely balanced. That's good. That's all set up and balanced, and we're ready for the next step. So for me to get polar aligned, which is the next thing to do, I use the iPolar by Ioptron, and for that you need a laptop. It's the only time I need to use a laptop. So I've got my laptop here, and I'm going to plug that into the iPolar, and then I will get polar aligned. Right, so first thing to do is to open up the app and hit connect, and we just wait for that to connect. Okay, it's connected, so now we go into settings, and it says load last dark frame, but I'm going to take a new dark frame, wait for that to finish counting down, and I might have to turn the light off for that. Right, it says take dark frame, so I'm just going to turn the light off to take the dark frame. So you click on take dark frame, hit OK, make sure the lens is covered over, hit OK again, close that down, and if I take the cap off, hopefully we'll see some stars. Wow, if you can see that, you're very close already. I've only got to make a slight adjustment, There we go. That's that done. Only took a few seconds. Right, so the next thing to do, once we've got the rig all set up and switched on, here I've got my iPad, so you'd go into your device, your tablet, whatever you're using. You can do it on your phone as well, but I've got my iPad. Right, and here you see, you go into settings, you'll find under Wi-Fi that the ASIAIR is putting out its own signal, so you tap on that. Now the ASIAIR has got a blue tick beside it, which means you are connected to the ASIAIR, so come out of that. Find the ASIAIR app, there it is, click on that, and then hit enter. We'll just check everything. The mount, ECUTEE mod with Sky Safari, that's all correct. The main scope, 402mm. The guide scope, 248mm. The camera, ZWO, ASI 2600 MC Pro. Right, so everything's correct. So hit enter. And now we're into the ASIAIR app. Here we go. Right, I'll show you how to set this up. So the first thing to do is just check the camera and everything is all connected. I'm using the 2600 MC Pro, which has a built-in do heater. So here I have to turn on anti-do. So if you've got a camera with a built-in anti-do, make sure you turn that on. And I've set it to -10, and the gain is set to 100. I'm checking the focal length for the scopes, 400mm, so that's correct. Now if we go into the mount, right at the bottom, you have to turn on the mount tracking. So switch that on. So the mount is now tracking. Now I don't have a filter wheel, but I've got an electronic focuser. So we'll just quickly go into that. So I've got that set to focus every hour. You've got other choices here, depends on what you're doing. If you've got a filter wheel, you can set it to refocus after every filter, which you want to do that anyway. You can also set it to focus before you start each auto run. Set it to autofocus after a meridian flip. I've got that turned on. So anyway, I've got it set to 1 hour, so we'll come back out of that. And I've got the USB pen in, so it's saving to that USB drive. I've got it set to save to that. So what I would do now is I would find a target by going into this button here. So I would click where it says next to go. I would click on that, go to the 3 little lines, and it says tonight's best. Click on that and we'll see what's up. Obviously all the planets are up at the moment because we've got an alignment going on, but I'm looking for something else. The California Nebula, we could do that. Christmas tree cluster, that's up. I'm going to look down here a bit further. Andromeda, that's up. Elephant's trunk, that's another good one. So at the moment, I don't know what filter I've got in here. It's Altez Dual Narrowband HAN03. So because that filter's already in, I'm going to choose the elephant's trunk, because that is a narrowband target. Elephant's trunk, here we go. So you select that, and then here you hit the go to button, and it should now slew around to the elephant's trunk. I don't think it's going to find that because it's cloudy. So this is not the best test in the world. But anyway, going on the assumption that it's found the elephant's trunk, it's trying to plate solve, and I don't think it's going to do it. Well, it says detected 29 stars, I don't know how. What would happen next is it would plate solve, show you the image. You would take a like a 2-second exposure, show you the image, and you could decide if that's the framing you want. It's not found it. Okay, I'm going to have to come back to this later. I'm going to give it maybe half an hour or so, see if this cloud goes. It's supposed to be clear, and then we'll come back to it and we'll do this again. Well, unfortunately the clouds have not gone, and the weather app says they're not going to go for another 2 hours. I've already been waiting 2 hours, so I'm going to have to pack this up now, and we'll come back on the next clear sky. So that's it for now, and I'll see you later.